Today, I want to talk about one of the most important elements of being a creative writer. And this applies, of course, to science fiction and fantasy writers and all writers, fiction writers and nonfiction writers alike. Now, I specialize in helping science fiction and fantasy writers, but recently I was in conversation with a contemporary romance writer, and what we were talking about totally applies to all of you. And that is how to get more feedback on your writing. Now, this is especially important after you have finished your first draft. So please finish your first draft before you search out feedback. If you start asking for feedback too soon, it can really destroy the creative process for you. It can make you doubt the direction you're going in. There's all kinds of reasons why I recommend that you get feedback after you finish your first draft. We're already critical of our own work, so I really recommend that you finish your first draft so that someone evaluating it and giving you feedback is looking at something that is a whole, even if it's an imperfect whole. Okay, so getting feedback. There's a lot of places you can get feedback. Yes, you can hire an editor, a developmental editor, someone who can read your story and give you feedback on character and plot and setting and how does one thing flow into the other, and do you have a deep point of view, all kinds of things. But actually, most first-time fiction writers, when you've completed your first draft, you actually need something else, and that's called a manuscript review. Now, I don't do manuscript reviews anymore, nor do I developmental edit by itself. I do that inside of my group mastermind, where I teach people how to edit their work. Manuscript review, and I know plenty of people who do this, is where someone will read your book and give you feedback on the story, the plot, the characters, the setting, the flow, the point of view, but they won't mark up your manuscript. They'll give you pages of notes. And it might be smart to handle this in a smaller bit. That is, don't hire someone to do your manuscript review for the entire book. Have someone read your first chapter. Have someone read your first page. Now, as a taster service, I do a page 1 assessment. For a small fee, I will read your page 1 and I'll give you an assessment based on key factors. So what do I offer in the page 1 assessment? Basically, it's to help you figure out, is my book any good? Am I starting in the right place? Am I delivering the kind of story I hope to? So meeting and exceeding genre expectations. Does my opening hook the reader? Is the narrator interesting and compelling? Now, if you are wondering all of those things and you finish your first draft and you are a science fiction or fantasy writer, but also any genre fiction, anything but horror, I don't do horror, I will read your page 1 and give you written notes. This is a bite-sized look at your work to answer the questions above. And I will also notice the big picture, story structure, character arc, and world building. And I can tell from page 1 how those are going. I can also take a look at your prose and give you a quick assessment on that. Now, this isn't a quiz. This is a real customized, personalized look at what's working and what needs improvement by a real person, me. I do not use AI for this. This is only for page 1, not for any other pages. Sometimes when people sign up for this service, it is a paid service, they hesitate to send me their 1 page. And I don't put a deadline on it because I understand the tenderness of sharing your work with someone. But I do recommend that you send it pretty soon. I have on my landing page here 6 to 8 weeks. But really, sooner is better if you can. It really is meant to be a nurturing place. What I mean by that is, I'm not here to attack you. I'm here to help you see what's working and help you see what you need more of. Now, if your story isn't science fiction or fantasy, but some other kind of speculative fiction, happy to look at it. If you like my vibe and you are writing some other kind of fiction, I'm open to that as well. I have written science fiction and fantasy and paranormal romance, and also I've written sci-fi mysteries. This offer is great for you if you are a science fiction or fantasy writer that includes romance, mystery, or thriller elements. Or if you have contemporary romance, I can look at that as well. But your work is done. It's better to have your manuscript be done. And if all you have is your first chapter and you're wanting feedback, I will look at it as well. But I really recommend that you have your whole manuscript done. Now, there are a few other ways you can get feedback, and it's quite fun. to consider them. There are contests. There's also different organizations that will allow you to submit your work to get edited, different editors and developmental editors like Rev Pit. I see that Readz has that service. I want to mention a few other things. There's also a place called scribophile.com where you can critique other people's work. And once you develop enough points by doing that, then you can get your work critiqued. You can also search Facebook for critique groups. And depending on where you are located, you can also look at your local writers club and meet in person with other writers and find critique partners that way. Critique partners where you exchange pages with them will not only give you an opportunity to get your work looked at, but it will also give you the opportunity to learn how to articulate what is working and what is not working in other people's work. So today we talked about getting a developmental edit if your work is ready. First-time authors often need more of an assessment at first, or you could hire someone like me to give you a page 1 assessment. Also, you can look for critique groups. You can look for online communities like Scribophile. You can look at offers like Readz has, and could also look at the amazing free competition called Rev Pit. And those resources will be in our show notes. So getting feedback on our work is actually critical. Nobody writes in a vacuum. We're all impacted by our culture. And then when it comes time to edit our work and put it out into the world, we actually all get our work read and we all receive feedback. One of the biggest stumbling blocks I see for writers is they never show their work to anyone. And then nothing really happens because they're afraid to put themselves out there. And I get it. It is very, very scary. So your ideal situation for getting feedback is a supportive environment where you feel safe with people that you like and respect. And you can put some other requirements on looking for critique partners as well, like you all share similar genres. You're all working on similar genres. All right. If you have any other questions or you're curious about my page 1 assessment, do contact me. I am out there at Beth Barany. You can also write me through my website, howtowritethefuture.com, and reach out if you would like support or further resources on this topic. All right, everyone. That's it for now. That's it for this week. Write long and prosper.